Coach Stacy Lynn here today, and so glad that I get to be with you today. I'm trying to figure out how to change this thing. Okay, all right, there we are. All right, hey everybody, Coach Stacy Lynn. Okay, I don't even know who I am today. I'm wearing my favorite shirt, things I do in my spare time. This is my bird shirt. I'm one of those people. Anyway, all right. Well, everybody, I got my hair cut. Can you tell? It's the first time I've had a man cut my hair, and I think he did a pretty good job, even though I'm still trying to get used to it a little bit. But anyway, just thought I'd share that. If you're a regular person, you finally see it happened. Finally. All right. So today, my question is about self doubt. How to help yourself if you are full of doubt. I'm going to tell you a couple of things that I know about self doubt and where you can look at other people and also how you might be able to help yourself as well. The first thing I want to say is that being full of self doubt is not unusual. It's actually a very common thing that a lot of people struggle with. But here's something I want to encourage you as a Christian. I want you to ask yourself this question. This is a very important question. In fact, you might want to write it down because it's that important. The question is, if we are like Jesus, if we are following in his steps, was Jesus full of self-doubt? That's the question. And that is a different way of looking at life, right? As a Christian, today, I think so many Christians are caught up in their own issues that they're looking over here instead looking at Christ, right? When you look at Christ and he is our model, the question is he full of self-doubt? Is he full of anything that you struggle with? I'm going to tell you the answer is probably not. No, it's not. Jesus isn't. Jesus was so confident. Jesus had authority. He had confidence. He didn't need the approval of other people. He didn't question his decisions. He didn't feel controlled by other people. He didn't feel helpless. He didn't need to be reassured. And he didn't compromise his own values. I'm going to list those again because these are the things, and I have a list of 6 of them. 6 things that people who are full of self-doubt have are as follows. You look for other people's approval. You question your own decisions. You feel controlled by other people. You feel helpless. And you may need to be reassured. And you also may be compromising your own values. And these things are very, very common. I'm just going to tell you again, these are very common, especially if you have been in a situation where you were controlled as a kid or you were abused or you just were never really taught, that it's okay to have your own voice and your own opinion. So I just wanted to list these things. I want to make this today short and simple. If you're full of self-doubt, you probably are seeking the approval of other people. And if you are a people pleaser and you're looking for the approval of other people, I'm going to tell you right now, your life is going to be miserable ultimately, because if you're living for the approval of other people, then you're always going to be disapproved of by somebody. And people who live for the approval of other people, they are like chameleons because they never show who they really are. Instead, they pretend that they seek the assurance of other people and the approval. And according to the Bible, we should be looking only for the approval of God, not man. And Jesus, he didn't look for the approval of man, right? He had fellowship with his Father, and that was it. So ask yourself, who are you looking for approval from? Right. And I mean, online, I can tell you it's interesting being somebody online because I've been online for years, decades at least. And unfortunately, social media is designed to get clicks and likes and shares and subscribes and all this other stuff. And it's all fake. It's fake intimacy. It doesn't mean anything really when it comes right down to it. Whoever quote approves of you online, unless you're really in some type of relationship with them, there is there's nothing to it, right? And I don't get my self-worth from what people think of me. I mean, I have people insulting me all the time. And those people are cowards. The people that actually go around insulting other people who use fake names and they hide behind a screen name and they're just insulting people. They're insecure. They're insecure. They're mean people. They need to grow up and get a pair. You know what I'm saying? So, um, all that. So, if you have self doubt, the other thing is that you may question your own decisions. And that is very common as well. It can be something as simple as, let's say you are wanting to go out to dinner with your spouse, right? And you, you're having the typical conversation couples have. Where do you want to go for dinner? I don't know. Where do you want to go for dinner? Internally, though, you really want Italian food, right? But you're too scared to say it because what if your partner doesn't want Italian food? What's going to happen? Well, I mean, it depends. If you have an abusive partner, that could happen. But if you can't even make the decision to say, I want Italian food, then that tells you that you have some self doubt, right? And what you do ultimately is you set yourself up in a trap because here's what happens. Uh, let's say me and my husband, we want to go out to dinner. My husband, well, what are you in the mood for? Well, I don't know. Let's say I'm in the mood for chicken, Kentucky Fried Chicken, let's just say, which I haven't been to in years because there's not one close to me. But let's say I want to go to Kentucky Fried Chicken. I'm an easy date. And my husband, let's say he wants Italian. I'm not a big fan of pizza or Italian food. I'm just not. My husband loves it. It's his favorite. Anyway, so let's just say I know that he wants pizza. So instead of me speaking up and saying, you know what, really, I would like chicken, I'll just say, well, I know you like pizza, so why don't we just go get some pizza? It's easy. So that's me not even making my own decision. It's deferring to my husband. Now, my husband could also defer to me. He could go, well, I'm not, I could eat pizza every day. What do you want to do? And then I might go, well, chicken's good. Let's do some chicken, right? That can kind of work. But the better thing would be to say, honey, I would like some chicken. Let's go out to get chicken. And then my husband may go, okay, cool, let's go get chicken. Do you want to go to the store and get a rotisserie chicken? Or, what do you want to do? And then I'll say yes or no. And I make that decision. But what happens with people is that they might say, let's say this is what typical people who don't know how to make good decisions with each other, they might say, I might feel like, okay, I want chicken. My husband, I know, wants pizza. So my husband's like, where do you want to go to eat? And rather than say, I want chicken, I say, well, how about pizza? I know you like pizza. So he's like, cool, let's do it. Right? We go get pizza. And then I am irritated because I didn't get chicken, which is really my own fault. But what happens with people like this is if they're not healthy in this and they can't express their own needs, what they'll do is they'll say, you know what? I'm really ticked off at you. Well, why? Because I wanted chicken. And instead, we always get pizza. Blech, And then the husband's kind of like, what the heck, man? I asked you what you want. So you actually set yourself up. And then you get mad at yourself, but you take it out on somebody else because you can't make your own decision. And that actually is tied to being full of self-doubt. So here's the other thing. That's a simple thing, and it's actually self-defeating behavior as well, which you don't wanna do. Now, I've been married in 10 days, it will be 34 years. So I've learned a lot in 34 years of marriage. I would say I'm an expert at marriage at this point. Yeah, I've done really well. I've had a pretty good marriage, most of my marriage. Um, but a lot of people haven't. And that's because of some of these issues. Okay. So the other question is, do you feel controlled by other people? If you feel controlled by other people, you might be full of self doubt. And I see this a lot with people that I coach. People who have been in situations where there's been a lot of coercive control, where they've been coerced into being a certain way because they've been abused. These people have a really difficult time making their decisions because they question themselves because the people who have been controlling them have created that trauma in them. And that can be very difficult to overcome. But you can totally overcome it once you recognize it. That's something coaching can help you with. You may feel helpless, right? A lot, um, there's been a lot of studies, psychological research and studies on the idea of learned helplessness. Where a good example is a elephant, right? When elephants are little, they get trained, by a zookeeper or whatever, and they will take the elephant and they'll tie the elephant to the stake and he can't pull it up, right? But as the elephant gets bigger and bigger and bigger, he could totally easily pull it up, but he doesn't because he doesn't think he can. And there's been a lot of research surrounding this type of idea of learned helplessness. And it's actually sad. It's really sad, especially when you look at how they've researched with animals and different things like that, rats or whatever, where they will learn that they can't get whatever it is that they want. Even when the barrier is then removed, they won't jump over it in order to get it. So that is something that you can look at yourself and you can ask yourself, do I feel helpless? And if so, where did that start? And do I want to overcome it? And then again, go back to Jesus. Was Jesus ever helpless? No. Did Jesus ever feel helpless? No. If we're made in the image of Christ, can we learn to take care of ourselves? The answer is yes, we can, as you grow and you get through that. You may need to be reassured if you are full of doubt, obviously. And that can be one of the hardest things that people struggle with because we all need to be encouraged, right? We all need to be encouraged. Some people are natural encouragers, like me. I am a total encourager. I know some people are like, "What? You think you're a total encourager?" I'm like, "Yeah, I am." Actually, I don't go around beating people up. I don't bash them. I don't try to discourage them from things. Yes, I'm a natural encourager. Um, and so, reassuring somebody is a big part of that. I mean, I do it every day with my dog. I reassure my dog, I mean, if I can reassure a dog, I can, I reassure people, you got this, you can do this, you can change. It is possible. God didn't make you see about 8 years ago, I started selling legal shields, and there was a quote by Jim Rohn. I think the quote goes something like, "You're not a tree, so you can move." You know, so if you are not a tree, you got the ability to move. But moving out of your anxiety and moving out of that place where you feel anxious, that can be, um, difficult because there's fear attached to it. But here's the thing, if you're raised by healthy parents, as you grow as a toddler, you get up, you begin to walk. What do toddlers do? They take a couple steps and boom on their butt, do, 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 boom, and mom and dad, yay, you look at you, you walked. Oh, people get all excited that when their kids start to walk, it's like, oh, yay. But then they're walking everywhere. And you're like, yeah, wait a minute, we got to watch out for this. Anyway, so you can be reassured. And, part of the ways that you can reassure yourself is through the word of God. Look up verses that tell you that God is for you. He isn't against you, that you can do all things through Christ who gives you strength. I know those are taken completely out of context, but the truth and the principles still apply. All right. Last thing is that you may be compromising your own values when you live in that perpetual state of self doubt. And if you are compromising your own values, then that's not good. For example, um, gosh, my nose itches all of a sudden. I don't know, 20 something years ago, 25 years ago, when I was doing therapy, I had a client that um, she was single and bipolar, and she decided that she would go off her medication against everybody's advice, which you don't want to do if you're bipolar. And one night she went out to a bar, got drunk, slept with a guy, and ended up pregnant. Okay. So she ended up violating her values by being careless, sleeping around, and then she ended up having a child, which fortunately he was healthy and all that. But she doesn't know who the guy's, she doesn't know who that child's father is. So, because of her doubt, her self destructive behavior, she ended up compromising her values. And that's what self doubt can do to you. So, part of overcoming, again, self doubt is first of all, admit it, admit that you have it. We all have it. We all have it on some level. Like for me, I wouldn't. Mm, I don't like heights. Okay. So I wouldn't climb to the top of a mountain, or I wouldn't go, how they have these things where you have like these big things that hang between, you walk on them, and the like trails that they hang. I wouldn't walk through one of those. No way. Why? I have doubt and that, that I wouldn't fall, even though they're secure. I'd still feel like, oh no, I could fall off this. So, you know, but you can still overcome it. That's why they give you things that can secure you, so you can do that. So if you have self-doubt, you're pretty normal. But here's the thing, as believers, again, our focus isn't here or even here. Our focus is on the Lord. Did Jesus have self-doubt? The answer is no, and that is your question. Always measure yourself by Christ. If we are told to grow in Christ and be more like Christ, we have to ask ourselves, who is he? How did he think? What did he do in order to do the things that he did? Jesus didn't look for the approval of other people. He wasn't insecure. He didn't do things that violated his conscience or his values. He didn't need to be reassured. He wasn't helpless. Okay. He wasn't controlled by other people. And believe me, do you know who did try to control Christ? The Pharisees. The Pharisees tried to control Jesus. That's why they didn't like him, because he wasn't controllable, right? He never had any problems in any of his relationships with the disciples. He always spoke the truth to them in love. And those men and women who followed him, they changed and became more like him. He didn't become more like them, right? So that's just something really important to think about, because as believers, one of the things I think is lacking in the church is true discipleship making. We have all of these rules, people say. In fact, I was in a group last week with some interns who are literally like 21 and 22 years old. So these are counseling interns, and I'm in this group. Long story, even how I got in this group. It wasn't a group that I was expecting to get in, but anyway, these kids are leading this group. And the idea behind this particular group is that they're trying to help people integrate their faith in their life. And everything that they're doing, everything that they're teaching is all works based. It's not relationship based at all. None of it is. And I'm sitting there as somebody 40 years older than these kids. And it was kind of funny because they're going around, and the topic was Bible reading. Well, how do we read the Bible every day? Like how is the plan that we have to follow? And if I don't read the Bible every day, then am I, what's going to happen to me? And some of the comments had to do with, well, I struggle with reading the Bible in the morning. I don't know how long I should read it, blah blah whatever. And when it got to me, they were like, Stacy, what's your opinion on this? And it took everything in me to not laugh, really. But I said, well, you guys, look, I'm almost 40 years older than you are. And way back when I was your age, I understood that's exactly the same thing that I actually believed, that every day I had to have a quote quiet time, right? And I said, but now I don't. I mean, actually I do, but I don't call it that. I have time in the Word. It's not a burden to me. It's a blessing to me, and one of the barriers that people have to opening their Bible is that they have the Bible placed in a place where they don't see it, or they don't even think about it, And so all I did was suggest, why don't you get a copy of your Bible and leave it open somewhere on a table? Because the open Bible is a Bible that will talk to you and invite you in. And it was sweet because one of the women was like, oh, that's great. And she turned around right as I said that, and she picked up her Bible off her bookshelf. She put it on her desk and she opened it up. She said, now I don't feel so burdened. And I'm like, there you go. Your walk with God is not a daily activity. Your walk with God is not a job. Your walk with God is an actual relationship. You invest in other people by spending time with them. It's the same thing with God. If you want to grow closer to God and you want to lessen your self-doubt, guess what? The more time you spend with the Lord, the more you'll be like the Lord. Bottom line. And those things will go down. And the things that He has, His fruit, the Spirit, fruit of the Holy Spirit, those things will increase in your life. And I know this sounds so simplistic and like, no, it doesn't happen. It does happen. It's just that most believers don't put time into it. And, I mean, if I spent 20 minutes a week with my husband, or let's say even 10 minutes a day with my husband, would I have much of a relationship with my husband? No. I mean, how do you develop a deep, intimate relationship with somebody if you're only spending 5 minutes here, 2 minutes here, 10 minutes here, 15 minutes here, maybe an hour on Sunday, right? How do you do that? You can't develop that relationship because there's no time invested. So those things, as you grow in your faith, your self-doubt will go down and your self-confidence and your self-assurance will increase, because you'll realize that you don't have to please God, not please God. You don't have to please man, but you're living and you're in a personal relationship with the Lord. So anyway, I hope that this has helped, and I will see you in the next video. Okay. Have a good day, everybody.